Hello, my name's Andrew Constable. I'm an Adjunct Professor with the Institute for Marine and Antarctic Studies at the University of Tasmania. Most of my experience has been engaged with Antarctic and marine science and also policy, but most importantly to facilitate groups in solving problems in those spaces, but also to do with climate change, both in terms of mitigation, but primarily adaptation to what we have in store. The greatest interest that I've had in all of those things is trying to understand people and what motivates them. I've really enjoyed working with Lisa over many years now in discussing and considering the similarities and commonalities between climate and Antarctic science and the arts, and looking at how best to express what are quite often complex issues, but in simple forms, and ones that people can readily relate to. Much of the work that Lisa has done has inspired me to think about Antarctic and marine science in different ways, and particularly to think about the diversity of people that we have to engage in these discussions. And those things I've really enjoyed, and particularly trying to understand the motivations of those people and how to bring out the best in people. And that's enough from me. Thank you. I look forward to our interactions over the coming weeks and months. Hello again. It's been an interesting question, thinking about the roadmap for my future. What do I have in store? What have I decided is my pathway? I think one of the things that I've come to realise since notionally retiring about 4 years ago, but pretty much stepping down from many things over the last 12 months, is that I've come to realise that there's not a lot that I can do at the level that I used to be working. And one of the other things too, particularly after reading Tim Winton's latest book, Juice, it made me think that trying to assemble some semblance of the past or move people towards some utopian future was really not something that any one person can do. It's an interesting thing to realise that people generally have a worldview that's dictated by the age within which they're born. There's not some absolute thing. And I thought Tim Winton's book actually exemplifies that. And so my path now is very much looking at, well, what can people do around them and how can they best influence or at least provide support to others that are growing up in their age, not my age. And I guess that's something that old people tend to do. So in thinking about that, what are the lessons that I can draw out of my experience that might help others in fine-tuning their own pathways and seeking things that are better for them? In thinking about that, I've also come to the conclusion that we are now living in the darker ages, where the Enlightenment of the 1970s, the environmental Enlightenment, has now moved beyond the dreams and aspirations of people then and changed to be less worldly and more insular. And as a result, the nature of the Earth and the Earth systems is changing, and changing in unconscious ways. And so how can we improve consciousness, but also how can we improve decision making that takes account of the reality of the future and not just aspirational futures? So it's all about adapting to what's in the pipeline. One of the greatest fears that I have is the dismemberment of science and the inability for people to grasp even basic principles. And so what I'm trying to do with what's left of my life is to highlight to people that we don't need to be uncertain. We just need to be able to deal with uncertainty and not let it frighten us in making decisions. And to a large extent, that's having the mechanisms to be able to think about problems and to find pathways of solutions that don't prejudice other options in the future. There are many ways of talking about that. But one of the important things is for people to not just imagine their futures, but imagine how they might get from where we are now to where we would want to be, knowing that where we would want to be right now is going to be different to whatever happens to us in trying to get there.